Let me tell you my story of growing up Asian in America.
I'm a first-generation Chinese-Taiwanese American. I'm in my early 20s now, but to really tell my story, we need to go back through the arduous journey to acceptance and pride before I understood the power of having a community. I'm currently in the same room that I grew up in, but a lot has changed about me. Let's rewind to when I was 11. Okay, by the way, whoever said wearing makeup doesn't change your face lied. Remove those very necessarily drawn-in eyebrows, and suddenly I look like a freaking tween. My story starts in the Bay Area, where growing up, I was surrounded by Asian Americans, and people around me looked like me, but those that I knew were stereotypically quiet and studied hard. I was always just too afraid to take up space. Thinking back now, I didn't really have much of an identity outside of the grades that I got in school. And all I can remember about those years was that I was a vehicle for fact memorization. But I was in a silent agreement to fulfill my parents' American dream. They kept every plastic bag, shopped exclusively at the clearance racks, snipped coupons on Sunday mornings, all to save money to provide my brother and I with an education. And so in turn, we were expected to work hard in school. I still don't really know how to show my gratitude to them, but there are things I do realize now that I missed because of my very belated period of self-exploration. Shy kids never have it easy in school. I learned at the cursed age of 11 that looking the way I did brought on the tormentors, especially since I kept to myself at school. I remember every morning in homeroom, these kids would lean over their desks to yell ching chong or pull their eyelids taut. I would always yell some meaningless retorts back to show that I wasn't bothered. But the truth is, I allowed their words to have power over me. And those words eventually turned into the shame of being Asian American that weighed me down for years. Shame became this powerful, engulfing feeling that took hold. Whenever I was caught off guard, I would have this physical response that would turn my face bright red. Although later I was able to control that response, I can't help but think that it was a combination of bullying, race, and my self-consciousness that all kind of crumpled into this ball of shame. TLDR, kids are cruel. Until I was a teenager, I went to Chinese school every Saturday to learn how to read and write in Mandarin. I dreaded spending my Friday nights drilling, pinging, and memorizing vocabulary. Over time, I started to resent speaking Mandarin. I started noticing and internalizing the way that people would intentionally draw out their sentences when talking to my parents. Pity a non-Western accent. They treat you like you're stupid. To shame the people who made assumptions that we couldn't speak or understand English, I started a personal boycott of speaking Mandarin in public. Whenever my parents spoke to me in Mandarin, I would respond louder in my perfect American born and raised English, just so that everyone around me knew that I spoke fluently. But my public display started creeping into the home too, and I stopped asking how to translate words when I couldn't recall them. I never considered what I'd be throwing away. My resolve to fit in was the first conviction I really felt innately. I just wanted to be seen as normal. And to me, being normal was to be white. And if you couldn't be white, do what all the white kids did. Speak English, eat fast food, wear all the name mall brands like Abercrombie and Aeropostale. But no matter the determination I carried to divorce myself from my ethnicity and the stereotypes that came with it, my face betrayed me. Even small things, such as following a makeup tutorial, made me feel different. I watched these YouTubers apply eyeshadow to make their eyes sparkly and large, and I followed their steps. Yet when I opened my eyes, all of it vanished, covered inside of my hooded eyelids. I spent all of my earlier years priding myself on my dissociation from my Chinese and Taiwanese heritage. But I never just chose to accept it and be proud of it. And honestly, that is perhaps one of the biggest shames that I carry to this day. Today, it's all the lost time that I yearn for, that I could have become fluent in Mandarin, have learned to cook Chinese food, celebrated my culture, time spent desperately trying to assimilate into the white society that would never fully accept me. Even if the past is unchangeable, maybe our perspective of the past can change. When I finally left the Bay Area for college, I saw a side of Asian Americans that I had never known as a 7th grader. My preconception of Asian Americans as shy, studious pushovers was challenged when I met people who were just brimming with cultural pride. I've spent the last few years having a personal reckoning with my struggles, accepting myself and my identity. A large part of which has just been learning about Asian American history, and it is a vindication of sorts. Asians were initially seen as invasive and threatening, and eventually laws were passed to ban them from immigration to the US. When those laws were redacted, a preference system based on family and skills was introduced, which ushered in the model minority stereotype. Yet Asian Americans had no political power for decades, which meant that they were easily scapegoated or discriminated against, and hence a large majority of them just stayed quiet to stay out of trouble. Perhaps the only way to be seen in this society is not to blend in, but to fight. And as Cathy Park Hong says, we are told to keep our heads down, believing that our diligence will reward us with our dignity. But our diligence will only make us disappear. I didn't have many Asian role models growing up, but my ultimate source of comfort was spending hours watching the few I did find on YouTube. Today, I'm motivated and inspired to see so many Asians and Asian Americans in politics, music, and mainstream media. I went to East Asia as a grown, understanding adult alone last year, and for the first time, everyone looked like me. And I realized this is what it feels like to be normal and to not be judged for the way that you look. It was perhaps the first time I felt like I really did fit in. I mean, at least until I spoke a sentence in Mandarin, but that's a work in progress. Today, I'm so proud to be Chinese Taiwanese American, but it's only because of all the battles that I had to fight through. I've learned that no one can tell you to be proud of who you are when the world around you does not accept you. But when you find the community that does embrace you, you don't have to go through that journey alone. I am in the process of unlearning, relearning, and evolving where I am. As part of my Asian American community, I'm taking up space as a creative, sharing stories, and just being loud and proud. I'm so lucky to have found a community of other storytellers. Shout out to my squad at Slant'd, because we are stronger together than we are apart. Maybe you're struggling with your identity too. Maybe you've just always been comfortable with who you are. But I share this now because I hope you feel seen too. And perhaps that's the most powerful thing that writing, filming, and creating this has done for me. My hope is that sometime in my lifetime, it'll be normal to be Asian in America too.